the biggest thing that, we've seen is that if the market keeps shifting to a situation where all the job seekers we have in processes are in jobs, the salaries are naturally actually going to have to rise. So the budget that the company had 6-9 months ago, they might have to consider changing that because that budget got them talent that was in effectively cheaper talent. While now the talent is not going to move as easy. And if they do move, they're going to say, hey there, listeners. Can you believe it? We're already on season 4 of the Alchemy Uncensored podcast. Before we dive into today's episode, I've got one quick favor to ask. I'm sure anyone that listens to podcasts will know what I'm about to ask. But if you've been loving the journey so far, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode, especially as we keep leveling up this season. And while you're at it, why not leave us a review? Your feedback has been a huge part of what's gotten us to season 4, and it helps us keep bringing you the content you love. And of course, one more thing. If you're feeling extra generous, share this episode with a friend who'd love to hear it. Let's grow this amazing community together. And all right, that's it for now. So let's get straight into the show. Thank you. Welcome back to Alchemy Uncensored. Today's episode is a little different. Over the last few months, we've seen some major changes in the UAE recruitment market. In fact, I believe we're witnessing one of the biggest shifts I've seen in my 8 years here. Instead of sitting down with one of our usual guests, I thought we'd do something different. Joining me today are 2 of our interns, Cillian Farrell and Rushil Magdani. 2 young professionals at the beginning of their careers who'll be asking the questions that many candidates and employers are probably thinking right now. So let's get into it. Guys, you've survived working in Alchemy.
Yeah, it's been a great experience so far this week. Thanks for having us in.
Yeah, how's it been? It's been a bit different than your normal school week. So just give a quick intro on yourselves, what age you are, what school you're in.
I'm Cillian and I go to Dubai English speaking school. I'm in year 12 going into year 13. And this week we were told that we were to find work experience instead of coming into school for the last week. Mm. And yeah, Conor's been really great so far. He's led us into a lot of his meetings, and then his employees, we've seen their meetings with clients. And it's been really interesting to learn about the value that kind of public relationships have with both the candidates and the clients. So yeah, that's been a great experience this week.
And I'm Rushil. I'm 15 and I go to Jamara College. I'm going into year 11, so I'm going to be doing my second years of GCSEs and I'm going to be studying them this year. So it's been interesting to do work experience, especially at a recruitment company, because you've realized that it's not just a regular office job. There's lots of different elements to it. So there's the meeting people and building relationships rather than just the same repetitive work.
I think you guys have done great. I think the first day was probably a bit of an overload of information, but I definitely noticed now in the few days that you understand how it works, the fees, the relationships in particular. Good clients and also bad clients who the team are focusing their attention on. So guys, look, we're going to get started. And look, it's been a pleasure to have you both and hopefully we'll see you again. But yeah, Cillian, if you want to start off with the questions.
All right. So Conor, you said that for the first time in your 8 years here in the UAE, that we're seeing a shift from an employee-driven market to a candidate-driven market.
Yeah.
That's a really big statement. So what makes you say that?
Yeah, so I've been here 8 years. For pretty much up until the last 6 months ago, the market has been very much driven by, the clients, the hiring companies. Because there's been such an oversupply of talent, the hiring companies have had leverage on the candidates. And now, due to the conflict that started in February, we're recording this now in July, that's made the shift to the market be quite big. So the reasons why, so just to think about it, is that the market now is actually, in my opinion, starting to get driven by candidates. So previously, we had a big supply of candidates, of job seekers. Now, it's probably, in my opinion, here. The reasons why this has happened is, one, most importantly, there's not as many people coming here now. So previously, before the war, there was people coming here every month without a job. They're arriving here, immediately available, need a job, want a job, take a job. So they're not coming anymore. And now, especially during the summer, they're definitely not coming. So the earliest these people will come back might be September, October. Secondly, you've had people leave the country. So people that maybe were in a job for 6, 12, 18 months, maybe they didn't settle, they have left sometimes. And then there's people that have been here quite some time. They've seen this as a reason to also leave the country. So that's a big amount of people in the job seeker space. But then you've also got people now who are maybe unhappy in a job 6-9 months ago. Now they're actually happy. They're stable. They don't want to take the risk of moving jobs. So again, this is in more candidates that are off the market. And then I think finally as well, which is it's an important point to note, is that due to some stuff happening in the background, some certain nationalities are struggling to get visas and renewal of visas. And this is one nationality in particular is a big segment of finance. So we're getting these candidates who are not actively looking now for jobs. So when you add everything up there, it just means that there's a lot less people looking for jobs. So companies that historically had in-house teams, HR doing a lot of their recruitment directly, they're now struggling to find talent. And I guess the silver lining for recruitment companies at the moment is that we're starting to get more work from companies that maybe historically we didn't get work. So it's all good. So Rushil, first question, are you ready?
For people who may have not experienced the market over the last few years, what was hiring like before, and why did employers have so much leverage?
Previously, it was all in their favor. So what happened was, to make it more straightforward, is that let's just say you were looking for a job and in your head, you are worth 20,000 dirhams a month. So if you're in your home country, that's the sort of salary you could command. But you've arrived here, you've got no job, you need to get an Emirates ID. You know, without an Emirates ID, you can't do a lot of things here, struggling to get rent. So what was happening was that people that were worth 20K, they might take 15K, 12K. And because the hiring companies knew this, they knew that you didn't have a job, that they could take advantage of your situation. So the flip side now, what is happening is that if we have a market where the majority of candidates are in jobs, if they are on 20K, they're not going to leave that job for 15K. They might leave the job for 25K. So the market dynamic now has shifted that if we send 5 CVs, maybe 4 of them are in a job. Well, previously, they all might have been out of a job, may have lost their job. So it's just the dynamic is completely changing. So it's good for job seekers. But I think one point to make is that people are saying to me now, how's the market? We're in July now. I think it's July 1st today. In June and July, if there was war or no war, the market is tough. It's slow. People go away on holidays. I'm going on vacation. And if a lot of people are away on vacation, recruitment slows down. So I think for a lot of people who are listening who are job seekers, I anticipate, like a lot of people in UAE and businesses, that come August, September, that business will hopefully start get moving again and there'll be a lot more hiring happening. Thank you. And Cillian.
Conor, when did you first start noticing this change in the market? But also, what do you think has been driving that shift?
Pretty much, I think the conflict began the 27th of February. So it was quite soon after that. We noticed naturally that some processes that were recruiting got put on hold and a lot of them are still on hold. So it's just meant that there's certain clients that were meant to hire, they haven't hired, so they will hire eventually, or maybe they won't. So that's probably the biggest thing. And now that the companies are naturally being more picky with their recruitment processes, which is obviously tougher for us. It's slowing down processes. But I think the biggest thing that we've seen is that if the market keeps shifting to a situation where all the job seekers we have in processes are in jobs, the salaries are naturally actually going to have to rise. So the budget that the company had 6-9 months ago, they might have to consider changing that because that budget got them talent that was in effectively cheaper talent. While now the talent is not going to move as easy. And if they do move, they're going to say, I want a nice salary uplift to make the move. So yeah, hopefully that gives a bit of insight. And Rushil?
How would you describe the talent market today? What are you seeing from candidates that's different to maybe 6 or 12 months ago?
The biggest thing with the talent market at the moment is that there is still people who want to come here, but they're still in their home countries. And this is an important point for listeners who are, UK, India, whoever, who are still emailing the team saying, I want to come to UAE. I'm not worried about the war. I've got family there. I want to come. That's great. And look, hopefully the market does change. However, 99% of our clients, they will say, who is here on the ground? So I appreciate there's people who want to still come in, but the hiring companies, because there's still a bit of uncertainty in the country, they don't want to go through a whole interview process and let's just say the alarms start going again and then people can't come in. So that's why the hiring companies, in a way, it's a funny dynamic because we have good talent that's outside the market that could be good for roles, but companies are saying who's here on the ground. And also there's not the same amount of talent as there was previously. So I think that's been the biggest shift that we've seen with the talent. And then also I think it just comes back to the points raised earlier where the people aren't looking as actively and their expectations are a lot higher now to move. So it's pushing up everything. That makes sense? Yeah. Cillian?
So then what does this mean for companies that are planning to hire over the next few months? Are there any common mistakes that employers should avoid?
Yeah. So I think for people hiring the next few months, the best time, in my opinion, if I was looking at it from a company's perspective, is maybe to wait until September if you can. Because even, especially with junior and younger candidates, they probably have summer plans. They've got weddings maybe they're going to. So they don't want to move jobs in the summer when they would start a new job in probation. And the new company might say, no, you can't go on those holidays. So that's happening. There's candidates that are saying, I'm going to wait till I get back from my summer vacation. So the talent pool as of right now on 1st of July, in my opinion, is not as strong as it could be. Definitely the 1st of September, there'll be more people available. So that's a big thing to consider. And I think, as I've alluded to, is that it's all about expectations, that I think companies just have to accept that. And I know HR people, whoever mightn't like to hear this, but and the previous hiring companies, is that you were getting a very good deal on the previous talent that you may have got. The market is going to probably correct itself a little bit, and that could all change if we start getting people coming in again. Then that will change. But the honest reality, and this is a positive thing, is that in finance, what we've seen is not that many people have actually lost jobs. So as a profession, accountants are very much needed when there's times of crisis, which has been the case the last few months. So my point I'm trying to make is that there hasn't been a massive group of people who've been let go who are immediately available. So yeah, it's going to hopefully bring the salaries up, which will bring our fees up. So everyone wins, and the candidate's going to win. But the big thing to say is that because the market is tighter, and this is a point for companies to be aware of, that if we have a really, really good candidate, they're probably in more than one process with the recruitment agency. So what this means is that the recruitment agencies will really have more oversight of how that candidate is getting on. And if certain clients or companies are very slow, they're going to miss out. If you move quickly, you will always get the best talent. And we've seen that happen a few times where companies that are traditionally quite relaxed on things, if they don't move quickly, the best candidate is gone. And now, because there isn't such an oversupply of good talent, if you miss out on a 9 out of 10 candidate, the best next one might be 6 out of 10. So yeah, Rushil?
Looking ahead, what advice would you give to both employers and job seekers as we move through the rest of the year?
So I think for employers, if you can, run better processes, provide more feedback, and because you got to protect your brand in the market. So giving good feedback, running good smooth processes, and also just being open to the fact that you cannot get away now with offering people 5% uplift, 10% uplift. Like sometimes candidates who are on 20, the client would offer 22. They're not going to move now. It's not worth the risk anymore. So I think the budgets may need to be revised in certain roles. And then for employees, now is a good time to be looking. It's not as competitive. If you're, I'm not painting a picture where everything's perfect. There are certain companies where the employee is just not happy. They want out. So for these sort of candidates, it is a good time to be looking, because previously they were looking and maybe they never got anywhere because they're on 1 month or 3 months notice and they're competing against lots of people who can start work tomorrow. That pool of people are not as present in the market anymore. So now if they go into an interview process, they could be competing against other people in jobs. So yeah, I think it's a good time. June, July are tough, but August, September, Q4 is always the busiest quarter in recruitment. Budgets, everything are approved. So yeah, I think if people who are actively looking, who want to actively look, connect with the team, and hopefully we'll have some interviews for you guys. So guys, thanks again for helping with the questions today. Hopefully there's some...
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, some good insights. But we're going to close with the quick fire round, a few questions, just to see how your brain works. So the first question, we'll go to Rushil. What is the biggest thing that surprised you that you learnt in the few days you've been working with Alchemy?
For me, the biggest thing is probably the full process. It's not just matching your client and your candidate. It's about following through that process, making sure that the interviews are all scheduled, making sure in the end you receive that fee.
Good man. All about the money. I love it. Cillian.
I think what surprised me was definitely the people skills that you need, because like obviously recruitment is always a person to person kind of industry, but like you need to have good people and communication skills with both your employee or both your client who's actively looking for a new employee, but then also you want your candidate to be on top of things. You want them to be answering if a company comes after them, if they offer them a job. So yeah, it's just being on top of all that I found really, really interesting.
Good. And then the final question, guys. What do you want to be when you grow up? When you leave school, what do you want to be?
For me, it's not really like one clear path yet. I still want to like finish my GCSE, see over the 2 years which subjects I've enjoyed more, which I've enjoyed less, and decide my A-levels based on that, and then my degree.
And what are you enjoying at the moment?
Currently more business and economics, so more like looking towards a finance career.
Good. Follow your dad.
Yeah.
You'll be better than him, won't you?
Hopefully, yeah.
And Cillian?
Well, so I'm looking at starting to apply to university soon, and kind of the 2 degrees that are standing out for me are economics and finance and accounting and finance, because I just think that keeps doors open to many different careers. Like you can go into recruitment, go into accounting, go into audit. There's so many different career paths, and I don't want to narrow myself down yet. But I think something within that finance industry is where I'll end up in the future. Good
man. Well, look, guys, thank you so much. That was a great episode, and I just want to say thank you to you both for your questions today. One thing we've always tried to do here at Alchemy Uncensored is have open, honest conversations about the market. We hope today's episode has given you some useful perspective, whether you're hiring, job seeking, or simply keeping an eye on things, where we're heading. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover in a future market update, let us know. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode on Alchemy Uncensored.